Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast, featuring in-depth conversations with executives, leaders, influencers, and journalists in this dynamic, high-stakes industry. Hosted by Craig Picken, founder of North Star Group, the boutique executive search firm for the aerospace industry. You'll learn how top aerospace executives are developing their people, competing for talent, overcoming challenges, and adjusting to industry trends to drive growth and profits. And now, let's join your host, Craig Picken.
Welcome to the Aerospace Executive Podcast. I'm Craig Picken. Hey, today I am thrilled to have Neil Book with us. Neil is the CEO of Jet Support Services, Inc., based up in Chicago, better known as JSSI. JSSI is a leading aftermarket services provider for the business jet industry. They support about 2,000 aircraft throughout the world with a wide range of products, including power-by-hour maintenance support, parts support, advisory services, valuations analysis, and a long list of other products for both aircraft owners and the financial services industries. Hey, Neil, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So all is good in Chicago, and business is off to a good start.
Yeah, it's been a great start to the year. Really excited about where we are heading into the last 2 weeks of the first quarter.
That's good. Neil, you got to. You guys bought JSSI now. What? Not quite 10 years ago, right?
Actually, it's hard to believe, but it's been about 10 years. We acquired the company in early 2008, right at the peak of the market, just before the downturn. So yeah, we've been at it for 10 years.
What attracted you guys to the aviation business in the first place? I mean, I knew Ron Hildebrandt and Rick Haskins when they owned it. What attracted you guys to business aviation, coming from the other things that you all your equity fund was into?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We didn't look at it as an aviation play or acquisition. We really looked at it as a financial services play. And so when we looked at JSSI, we saw a company that had really remarkable talent within the organization, great business aviation and aviation expertise, particularly around maintenance. And we thought we brought a level of financial sophistication, cash management, and other tools that would be really complementary to the strengths of the company at the time. And so that was really, we loved the business model. We thought that the company had a lot of upside. We thought it was a great business, which was underperforming, and that we could make the difference and help turn it around and turn it into something really special.
When you bought it, where did you say it was underperforming a little bit? Where did you see? What was glaring to you? What did you see that was underperforming and that you guys could fix fast? And then what needed some more long-term structure?
Sure. Well, look, I give the founders of JSSI just a ton of credit for being entrepreneurial enough to say we're going to go into business and we're going to compete with the giants, the Honeywells of the world, the GEs of the world, the Rolls Royces of the world. And these four guys from Chicago took on the giants, and they did a really admirable job of building a very solid business. Now, when I looked at the business, my initial thought was there was an opportunity for the fleet to get a lot younger. If you looked at the average age of an aircraft enrolling on the JSSI program, back then, it was probably somewhere between the age of 15 and 20 years. So it was aircraft that was well into its life cycle, and it was really aircraft that the manufacturers weren't really focused on any longer from a PBH perspective. So I saw an opportunity that we could really get the fleet a hell of a lot younger, have aircraft on the program a hell of a lot longer. And so, that was one of the areas that we thought we had an opportunity. And, I look at our business last year, and roughly a third of our enrollments, were brand new aircraft. And, I bet, about 10 to 15% of all deliveries last year came with the JSSI engine program. So, we've started to be able to really penetrate that market, get involved much earlier in the life cycle of the aircraft. And as a result, we've brought down the average age of our portfolio from somewhere around 17 or 18 years to somewhere between 12 and 13 years, and that's a place where we'd much rather be.
Gotcha. So JSSI, obviously, Jet Support Services, Inc. A lot of people, in the industry consider you guys to be more of a maintenance company, PBH, power by hour company, but you really describe yourself more as almost a financial services company, correct?
Yeah, I look at it really as a business that marries the two, right? Strong financial services company coupled with some of the greatest talent in the industry around maintenance. And if you look at our business today, we've got roughly 2,000 aircraft on a JSSI program, and that could be any combination of the following: engine, APU, airframe, or avionics. And so, we cover a wide cross-section of aircraft, anything from a single-engine turboprop all the way up to, a BBJ or an ACJ, and everything in between, as well as the helicopter market. And so, from my perspective, the company has really done an outstanding job, focusing on what we do best, and that's delivering a seamless maintenance experience for our customers, and then couple that with giving them the financial tools to operate their business most efficiently.
Sure. I mean, hey, look, you take a little bit of the stress out of owning an airplane. They write you a check. You guys kind of worry about the vast majority of the maintenance and things they need to take care of, and they're pretty happy about that. It's kind of a win-win for everybody, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if we're doing a good job leveraging our buying power with the maintenance community, that should be able to translate into a very competitive rate, which hopefully not only removes the risk of aircraft maintenance by giving 100% protection on all unscheduled maintenance events, but I'm hoping, and in most cases, it probably does reduce their overall maintenance costs.
So you open the door for this one. You talk about buying, leveraging the maintenance, and the OEM and the third-party maintenance worlds are incredibly competitive, and everybody's starting to dogfight it now. How do you see? Obviously, you guys are probably benefiting from that a little bit. But how do you see? Standard Aero, Westar Aviation, Western Aircraft, a lot of the third-party guys, and then you see Bombardier, Gulfstream, Dassault. They're all trying to shore up their MRO businesses. How do you see all that playing out?
Well, I think you said it very well. Over the last several years, as new aircraft sales have slowed down a bit, obviously the manufacturers, the OEM community, has focused much more on the aftermarket, right? Maintenance services, MRO facilities, and we've seen that market really tighten up. We've also seen some consolidation. What we have really focused on doing is, leveraging our relationships in the industry, directing maintenance work to the facility that is going to provide the best price, the highest quality, and the quickest turn times. Okay, and so by doing that, and if that's your guiding principles, we're going to go to where the best value is, the best service is, and the quickest turn times. Ultimately, you're going to find a number of partners that you keep going back to who can deliver across the board on all of those items. And so we've had a lot of success in that. We have had a lot of success, driving cost out of our business by strategically aligning and partnering with the best of the MRO community.
I got to assume that you guys are helping some of the MROs get better too. You send frequency of work, you send more and more work to them. They start to figure it out, get a little bit more efficient with each aircraft that comes through. I take it that partnership has really worked both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our technical advisors are working very closely with the people on the floor in the maintenance facilities, and there's a constant line of communication back and forth. And we're working to make each other better and drive efficiencies and improve turn times. And by keeping those lines of communication open, we've seen a lot of improvement, a lot of data sharing, and the ultimate beneficiary of that is the operator.
Are you guys keeping that? That reliability, maintainability data, and are you able to monetize that at all and sell it back to some of either the providers or the OEMs coming to you? I mean, I just look at your business. I'm thinking, hey, look, there's probably a lot of different avenues that you can go down for revenue sources, and obviously you're an ex-tech guy, so you kind of see things from probably a couple different avenues.
Yeah, it's a great question, and the answer to the question is we're not actively selling that segment of our data back to the manufacturer, back to the MRO community. We're really sharing data to ultimately benefit our operators in the JSSI customer base. But you touch on something that I think is really important, and that's collection of data. And we've worked incredibly hard over the last 10 years to capture every line of data that we possibly can at the most detailed of levels, because to us, that's the sort of the secret sauce of this business, right? Being able to understand, really understand at a very detailed level the intricacies of this business, and to be able to more accurately forecast when maintenance is going to occur, when it's going to occur, and when it does occur, what it's going to cost. And that allows us to obviously provide the best, most accurate pricing in terms of an hourly rate to our customer base. Now, one of the areas where we are leveraging this data to sell to the market or to monetize is through a suite of other services that we have recently introduced. And just a couple of examples of that is we have a division now called our Advisory Services Division, and we're actively managing maintenance events for third parties, who basically hire us to come in and handle their maintenance, even though they may not be on one of our programs. We're working very closely with the banking and lending community to provide aircraft appraisals as well as asset inspections. So we're also working with the insurance community, hull underwriters, hull liability underwriters, to provide, claims event management to help them work through when there's an engine claim, for example, looking at what's FOD versus what's normal wear and tear. And so we're really leveraging a lot of our data, leveraging the skills our team has to deliver value to the marketplace in new ways, which we've never done before.
Yeah, no, and the industry was really ripe for a lot of that. A lot of that too. It was a lot of fracture. There were a lot of people out there doing it, but it was pretty fractured. And, all of a sudden now you guys have become, over the last 20 years, you guys have really become a major player in that space. I got to think between, JSSI, there's only a few people that can really do what you guys do to that level. And it's really, NetJets and Flight Options, the two biggest operators, and y'all who have big fleets or take care of big fleets.
That's a great, that's a very good point. When I look at that market, call it the appraisal market, asset inspections, some of these other services being delivered to the financial community, you're right. To me, it was surprisingly fragmented, very regional, regionally based. So you have small providers in each region around the world, and so you had banks partnering with 10 different companies in order to get the service that they needed across their portfolio of financed aircraft. And so I think we bring a different value proposition to play here. We've got 70 technical advisors strategically located all over the globe that can be on site within a very short period of time, deliver the service in the same consistent, high-quality manner. And, to the banks, I think it's a great opportunity. You work with one provider, covers the entire globe, and you get the same consistent, high level of service. And so we're going to continue to really focus on that market, and we see a lot of upside there.
That's got to be pretty exciting. So you came out of, you personally now, you came out of the tech industry.
I did.
I take it you probably have a pretty strong network back into there, and you're seeing what those guys are, how that industry is transforming stuff. Is that playing a big, is that experience playing a big role in how you run the company today?
100%. I really, I grew up in the technology. I grew up in the technology sector. I ran a cybersecurity company for a number of years, and that really prepared me, I think, for the move into aviation. So, I look at that. I look back at that experience, and I really draw on it, every day. And a couple of the key things that I always go back to is just the speed at which that industry changes. I used to wake up in the middle of the night, just wondering if I was going to read about something that had made our technology completely obsolete, just because at the speed at which technology is changing today. So, I would run our business with, I would say, a controlled sense of paranoia and fear. I was driven that we were constantly innovating, constantly adding features, looking to stay ahead of our competition, which was moving at an incredible pace. So I tried to bring that same sense of urgency, that same sense of need to innovate to this business, and I think a lot of that has driven some of the changes we've had within JSSI over the last 10 years, and going from a company that provided really one line of business, hourly cost maintenance programs to the industry, to you look at the company today and we've got such a diverse set of lines of revenue. It's pretty remarkable. I like to think of it as changing the electrical wiring in the house without turning off the lights. And to me, I think I really attribute a lot of that change to my experience in the cybersecurity industry.
Has the speed at which you guys have reacted to things, or if proactively taken on things, have you surprised some people out there? I mean, I look at the commercial side of the house, and I look at like Boeing. Boeing is trying to grow their aftermarket services business pretty big, and they're but everybody looks at them and says, hey, they're kind of a big lumbering company that's been there for a long time. Lockheed Martin, same thing. How quickly can they react? Has the speed at which you guys have attacked the market a little bit taken some folks by surprise?
Yeah, I think so. We try. Look, we really try to move. We try to move quickly, but certainly intelligently. We're very measured in the decisions that we make. We're very measured when we decide to go after a new market. But once we make the decision to go, we go like a racehorse with blinders, and we try to take as much market share as we possibly can. And when we focus on a business or a new line of business, there's always one thought in mind, right? Is it accretive to our core business, the business that got us here, and that's hourly cost maintenance or power by the hour. And so every line of business that we've gone into has been accretive to our core. So as we build these new businesses and these new lines of revenue and these new opportunities, it's still feeding the core. It's still feeding our core business, and I think of it as cross-pollination, right? And so each business feeds one another. And I do think we've taken some people, by surprise, but to us, we're never really satisfied, or never allow ourselves to be satisfied, or to take a minute to enjoy it. We just try to keep pushing.
Yeah, no, I was reading an article in CNBC yesterday, I think, and it was talking about how Toys R Us kind of sat on its laurels, and 10 years later you see them. I don't think today you can sit on your laurels for much more than a day and not get burned by it. Everything's moving.
Right. You see so many examples of that today, right? There was a time not too long ago where, every shopping mall had a Blockbuster in it, right? And look where how many Blockbusters do you see today?
Blockbuster gone, Sears gone, everybody. I was reading too, Neiman Marcus. Somebody was saying Neiman Marcus may be one of the ones that you won't see in a couple of years. I'm like, holy cow, it's a whole day. It's a whole new day for our kids growing up. It's all changing so fast.
It's true. The world is changing, and the way commerce and business is conducted is changing at such a rapid pace that you really have to work to change with it, and you have to work to stay in front of it and deliver what the market wants. So.
Are we as an industry doing a good job with that? I mean, the industry as a whole. Everybody talks about shortage of pilots coming down the pike, and mechanics are now getting thin. Are we as an industry, what do we need to do to get back in front of it?
Well, look, I think that you could certainly make an argument that you need more A&P mechanics, you need more pilots, and so I see operators taking steps and measures to make it more attractive to go into those fields. But when I step back and I look at some of the things that you're seeing in the industry today, I really do think business aviation is really evolving, with the times. I mean, look at a company like JetSmarter, okay, or other operators who are trying to figure out a way to bring business aviation to the masses, right? You know, if the economics don't necessarily work, you know, for someone when they have to, you know, charter a plane and spend $6,000, $7,000 an hour. However, when you can think about innovative ways to get that first-class passenger onto an aircraft who can spend, you know, somewhere between $800 and $1,200 for a seat on a business jet, and then they have that business jet experience where they don't have to deal with the, you know, the torture of standing on a TSA line you know, in the airport, and they save an hour each side of the trip, and they could hit 2 cities or 3 cities in a single day to get what they need to done. You know, all of a sudden you've got this entirely new market that's going to be drawn to the business aviation community. And, you know, I believe high tide lifts all boats. If we can successfully execute and you know, draw that new customer in, it's gonna be great for the entire industry. And so I give a lot of credit to some of the early movers in that space, and I think they are, you know, we're working and looking at ways to innovate.
Yeah, no, I was talking, you know, Rob Wiesenthal up at Blade.
Yeah.
In New York City, you know, they're crowdsourcing helicopters, and obviously they've got a market, you know, hey, you know, ranging from, you know, we'll just take a group of people, a couple $100, and everybody gets on the helicopter and, you know, goes out to Teterboro or to the, you know, one of the major airports and makes it easier, or, you know, the Hamptons or whatever. So, you know, that whole market it's something, you know, a couple of years ago didn't exist, and you know, technology, new thoughts, everything's doing it. But so you know, as a CEO goes, you guys just kind of doing the math, you're somewhere, you know, 2,000 airplanes on your subscription, you're somewhere, you know, $500 million or more in revenue. You're a relatively young CEO, and you've been in that chair for, you know, a couple of years. What were the big, you know, what have you learned, and kind of as you come along, and what were the biggest challenges you took on when you started?
Sure. So, well, I guess I am relatively young. I turned 40 last year, but I turned 40 last year, which was, you know, an exciting birthday, I guess. But in terms of being a CEO, I've really been a CEO for the last 14 years, you know, since I'm 26. And it's funny, you know, you learn the same lessons over and over again, right? You know, every business, regardless of the business, faces a lot of the same challenges. And, you know, look, I think it always comes down to the people, right? And you know, Craig, in your own business, right? This is what you really understand. It's critical to find just the most talented people, most hardworking people that you can, and then reward them for their efforts. Go find people that can execute and, you know, let them run. That's been, you know, any success I've had, I really share it with my employees because they're the ones that go out and they've executed day in and day out. And so, you know, when I first came over here, I brought 2 people with me from the cybersecurity world who had no experience with aviation. They're both on my executive team today, have been at JSSI for more than 5 years. And, you know, today they're certainly fluent in the aviation language, but, you know, more so than that, they've gone out and they've really helped transform this business, helped me transform this business with a whole host of other people that are here. So, again, I find it comes down to the people. And, as a CEO, I've just learned that you need to address issues, head on, right? Never let them fester. To me, that's the difference.
That's the one thing. I talk to, you know, the one thing that I talk to people is you hear a lot about in this industry. You hear about, well, he's not an airplane guy, or she's not an airplane girl. And I'm sort of, you know, I sort of run under maybe a little bit of a different mental process. And I think if you find the right person who's got the aptitude and the smarts, you know, it's harder to teach aptitude and smarts than it is to teach an industry. You know, go find the A player who can adapt, who's smart and adaptable, and teach them the industry versus finding the industry person and trying to make them smart. I mean,
I completely agree. And when you take an A player from outside the industry, bring them in, they're going to bring in a perspective that people who are so close to it may not have. And so bringing that outside perspective in is always healthy. And marrying those people up with those that have that strong institutional knowledge that you'll never learn when you've been doing something for 30 years. There's a huge amount, a wealth of value there that you just can't, that you may not be able to teach. But you marry those two together, strong institutional knowledge with someone coming in from the outside that has aptitude and ability to execute, and something special happens. And it's been fun to watch and to play a part in it.
Yeah, no doubt. When you're interviewing somebody for an executive role that you don't know,
right?
You're looking for somebody for either a leadership team or one tier down, and what are you looking for as far as their character? What do you want them to tell you that gives you confidence they're the right person, and what do you shy away from?
I'm really looking for someone that has the ability to solve problems, not to bring you problems. That's easy, right? Somebody that has the ability to solve problems. Just last week we hired a really strong guy to run our advisory services business, which we talked about a little bit earlier. A guy named Jason Schwab. Comes out of graduated from West Point. Served 2 tours in Afghanistan as a helicopter pilot, went on to get his MBA at Booth, and joins us out of Goldman Sachs. And, going through the process with Jason, I really looked for, does this guy have the ability to solve problems? And, very quickly it became clear that he did. And that, is a skill set that he brought. And that's something I look for in all of our, executives, and that we look for in every employee that we bring on. And, to me, that's sort of the trait that's most important, of course, along with someone that shares our value system.
Isn't that the case? It's like, hey, look, okay, you bring me your problems. Bring me the problem, but bring me 2 or 3 solutions that you think are good paths. Let's talk about the solutions. Let's talk about the problem, and let's discuss the 3 solutions you have. And between one of those, we'll figure out something. But exactly. You get so tired of people just it's like, hey, look, I got a problem. And then all of a sudden, their problem becomes a CEO's problem, and you've only got so many hours in a day. Plus, you have a family and everything else to worry about. So.
Look, I think we, in our personal lives and our professional lives, you interface with people that, really kind of thrive on that, almost a negativity, that almost embrace problems because it's something else to, sort of complain about. And, we've tried to find people here that, look at a problem, as an opportunity. And it sounds a little cliche, but, I think the key to success is being able, there's going to be problems in every business, right? Is to identify those problems, create a solution that works, makes sense, and you find sometimes you have a customer issue that you turn into a huge positive by putting forth a solution that makes sense for the customer, makes sense for your business, and everybody wins. So, yeah.
I mean, the truth, half the time you hear it all the time in businesses and sales and whatever, you've got a customer that's in a really, really bad spot, and you got to deliver bad news to them. And as you know, bad news doesn't get better with age. So somebody finally gets the courage to do it, but you come to them with a couple of ideas, and next thing you know, you've not only you've fixed his problem, but you've created such a good solution. You get some more money out of him. You've got a customer for life. I mean, who doesn't know those problems? And that's it. But here you are. You're at the top, and sometimes as CEO it gets lonely. Who do you talk to when you start to get overwhelmed? Who's you have a mentor that you go to? Do you have somebody on your do you have somebody in your executive team that you can close the boardroom door with and just say, hey, look, this is a bad day. Where do you go?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been so blessed throughout my career to have had just so many mentors, and I just look at my board of directors. Okay, the chairman of our board's my father, who's been a mentor for me, my entire life. I mean, he was taking me on business trips since I'm 5 years old, and he's been just he's a great sounding board. Along with we have two vice chairmen of our board, Brian Moss, who's former president of Gulfstream, who I really credit for taking the time to help educate me on this market 6 years ago when I stepped in to the management team, and needed a lot of hand holding and a lot of coaching and training, and certainly Brian and Lucino, one of the founders who's still with us on our board, and Joe.
Phenomenal guy.
Yeah, we've got a great. I turn to my board of directors, who I really view as much more than a board of directors. I view them as a sounding board. So they certainly help fill that role. But I got to tell you, my entire team here, the leadership team at JSSI, are people that I've now worked with in some cases for 15 years, and other cases since I got here, 5-6 years, and they're a great sounding board as well. And so I've just been blessed to be surrounded by a great group of people who I can lean on.
It's a good, Brian. Look, I'm a huge fan of Gulfstream, and not just as a product. I mean, look, they're all good products. Bombardier makes a great product, but I'll tell you, the one thing about Gulfstream is that they've consistently delivered on time, every time. What they tell their customer, and a lot of that goes back to the culture that Brian Moss and Bill Boyster and the management team created there 20 years. They created this culture of excellence. And it was hard for a lot of people to jump on it, but it was this culture of excellence that, we don't have a choice. We got to deliver what we promise, and it's what we're going to do. And to have a guy like Brian on your board, I got to think is a huge asset in this business. Tremendous asset, and I've, you and I have talked offline about this as well, as couldn't ask for a better mentor. And same for Lucino, has been in the industry for 30 years plus, also has been a great mentor to me. And again, you said it well, Brian created a culture of excellence, customer service, and that's the same thing we've really tried to replicate here. And again, I look at our competitors, right? I mentioned some of them earlier. When you think about it, we're competing with some of the biggest brands and most successful companies in the world, the Honeywells and GEs and Rolls-Royces and Pratt Whitneys. Not that all these businesses haven't had their own challenges, especially of late, but, we're competing with these, really iconic brands. And so a company like JSSI, to a new operator or a new jet owner who may never have heard of us, okay, but they've certainly heard of Rolls-Royce, we can't just be, good, right, in order to win a deal. And in order to keep a customer. Okay, right. We have to go about, and we have to be great day in and day out. And that's the standard we try to hold ourselves to. And anything less than that, we're disappointed, and we're going to work to fix it. So, you're never going to get it perfect. There's always going to be opportunities to improve service, drive efficiencies, but you got to work towards perfection every day, and we've tried to do that. Yeah, no, it's just doing your best, coming to work and doing your best job every day. It's the industry now. You mentioned the Rollses and the Honeywells and the Pratts and stuff like that. Are they are you guys all frenemies now? Is it kind of we're working together? We're competing with each other. We're working. We're competing with each other. We're working together on some stuff. How are those all those relationships? They good?
I think they are good. There's certain components. If you look at our business, we're working in all of their maintenance facilities. We're driving a significant amount of work through their facilities. So, in some ways, we're a good customer. In other ways, on the program side, we compete. We go out and we work with their parts organization to buy parts. So yeah, I mean, to your point, I would say frenemies is a good term. I mean, we work together. We work together in more ways than we compete. So I'm always optimistic that the relationships where they are somewhat strained will improve, and where they're good, we're going to focus on making them even better.
No, I got you. So you guys, JSSI is really a litmus test for the industry. Everybody, the banks are coming to you, and they're looking at you saying, "Hey, what's going on?" The owners are, the brokers are. What do you're the litmus test for business aviation. What's the future looking like?
Yeah, look, I am really optimistic about the future. So you're right. We work with a huge cross-section of players in the industry, right? Operators, MROs, lenders, insurance companies, brokers. So, we're working with a huge cross-section of those guys, but I look at flight hours, right, as the ultimate barometer for the health of the industry. And as a company, that charges by the flight hour, we're very much in tune to trends and how, operators are using their aircraft and how they're flying. And look, last year was just a phenomenal year in terms of flight hours. We saw the highest number of hours on a per aircraft basis than we've seen in the last 10 years since 2008, with the big economic downturn. And this year, through 2 weeks into the first quarter, 2 weeks left in the first quarter, hours are up by, more than 5%. So I think that the market I'm very encouraged by the signs that we're seeing in the marketplace. We're seeing aircraft values. I think, those have sort of bottomed out and now are on the uptick, and we're seeing them starting to improve. A lot of old inventory has gotten sort of moved out, and so I think it's going to be a very good year. But long term, I'm really optimistic.
All right, the 8 ball says, we're going to shake the 8 ball. The 8 ball says, is it going to be more? What's going to drive the industry more? Is it the 91K, the fractionals, the 135s? Do you think more people are going to start buying? We're the gig economy now.
Right.
Are more people going to start buying their own airplanes, or are they pretty happy with the 135s and the fractionals, or do you? How much of your business is international along the same lines? Let's throw that in there too. Does it grow internationally, and do people buy their planes or stay with 135 and 91K?
Look, I think again, this may seem like a little bit of a cop-out, but I think we're going to see growth in both markets. I think we're going to see increased demand for people buying their own aircraft, but at the same time, I think the market's just getting bigger. So you're going to look at the 135s getting more creative and figuring out new ways to reach the masses, right, and to offer business aviation at a price point that allows entry to a much bigger population. So I think you're going to see both. I really do, and you're going to see demand coming from places that we'd never seen it before, right? I mean, we've been talking about growth from China and Asia and the Middle East forever, but it's there, right? And you're starting to see the market change. Airports being built and developed that allow for better access for business aviation all over the world. And so I think you're going to see growth being driven off of a bigger market because it's going to be made more affordable. And I think we're going to see growth coming from just places in the world that they never had before. So on both fronts, I think it looks very positive. I don't think it's going to happen all at once, and I don't think it's going to happen overnight. But long term, over the next 5 to 10 years, I think we're going to see steady growth and the market really rebound. Yeah. No.
Do you see going back to kind of your business model and how you guys are doing? Do you see yourselves vertically integrating a little more? And say what you want about that. I don't want to take away any of your secrets if there are any. But do you see guys? Are you going to vertically integrate a little bit, or do you see yourself kind of staying the path and figuring out more creative ways to drive JSSI's business?
Right. So when I think about vertical integration, there's one area that I know we'll stay away from, and I don't think we want to get into the MRO. We do not want to get into the MRO space where we would have our own facilities and turning our own wrenches, so to speak. We view our suppliers as partners, and so I don't see us ever looking to compete in the MRO space. We're going to continue to sort of aggregate and send work to the most capable facilities. But in terms of attacking new verticals in the aviation space, that is an area you're going to see us really attack. We talked a little bit about some of the services that we're providing now to the lending and banking community, the insurance community, and others. You're going to see more to come there. We're going to start getting very aggressive in going after new verticals, looking at leveraging our data to deliver a new set of value to the industry. You may see a couple of announcements on strategic acquisition from JSSI within the coming weeks and months. So very excited about what the future holds.
That's awesome. What's the big? What's the hope? I mean, where do you guys want to be? It's your privately held company now. You see it go public. You just see you continuing to grow until you can't grow anymore, and hopefully that never happens. What's the goal of you and the board, and where do you want to be in a couple of years?
Our goal is growth, and that's, you ask any one of our employees, it's sort of what I've been focusing on, is, how can we continue to grow and scale the business and deliver a better customer experience, and to continue to, focus on those areas. So, if I look at where we're going to be, 5 years from now, I'm hoping we're going to double the size of this business. We've entered markets where, our young new businesses will be, mature, significant businesses in that period of time. And so, as a board, as an ownership group, that's what we're really focused on.
I got you. Is there anything that keeps you up? What keeps you up at night? The old question: what keeps you up at night? And what makes you fearful?
Well, I said this earlier. I kind of operate in a perpetual sense of fear and paranoia, and so there's a lot that keeps me up at night. One of the things that does is I never ever allow myself to underestimate our competitors, and I've seen them become more aggressive in recent years, increase their coverages, offer new products to the marketplace, and so that I'm always thinking about what's next, what's the next product, how can we innovate, how can we stay ahead, and so that keeps me up at night. But I think that's healthy. I think you want someone in my job that isn't always sleeping so well, because there is a demand to stay in front.
So last question, and we'll let you go, but we're coming up on the 45-minute mark. So if the guy, rapidly changing business, looking for opportunities, if an executive inside JSSI comes to you and says, Neil, I think we should go down this path, or we should at least explore it, how do you answer that question? Do you kick it around, or do you make them come back to you with some justification? How does innovation occur inside your company?
Well, one is we have strategy sessions pretty regularly, and we're always looking at new opportunities. We're always talking, but they're not easy, right? You bring something to the table, we're looking for a substantive handle and grasp on the opportunity. And if you can justify it, and if we do our internal analysis and it makes sense, okay, we're going to invest in it and we're going to go after it. And so, a lot of the innovation that's come here is being driven by, a whole host of our employees across every facet of our business. And that's the type of environment that we want to create. We want people to be entrepreneurial. We want them to think outside of the box. And, when people do that, and they see their ideas turn into a new line of business that's adding value, creating jobs, I mean, there's nothing more rewarding. So that's the culture we're trying to build here and to focus on. And so far, it's been a lot of fun, and we've been doing a decent job at it.
Like I said, I remember when Rick and Ron started the company back in the mid '90s, and in the early '90s, and it's been a whole lot of fun watching you guys grow since then. So, hey, thanks for being on, coming on today. I know it's 45 minutes out of a very busy day for you, and I appreciate it. So,
well, thanks,
how
Greg.
can if someone wanted to get a hold, what is it, jetsupport.com, www.jetsupport.com?
That's the one.
Is that the website? So that's perfect.
Website. And call me directly if you want to get a hold of me. If you're looking for a program.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for coming on, Neil. We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig.